Hello, I'm here today in Kentish Town, North London, with the founder of the Rockarchive, Jill Furmanovsky. Pleasure to meet you again, Jill. Absolutely delighted that we can bring the Rockarchive prints to our auction in November. Can you just tell us a little bit how you got started in photography and how Rockarchive came to be what it is today?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm a rank amateur to begin with, a Beatles fan standing outside Abbey Road with my Instamatic camera. That was my start, hoping to meet the Beatles. And I did take a picture of Paul and then two school friends and an elbow at one point. And then I kind of became the Rainbow Theatres photographer in the 70s. Again, I was 18, not very experienced. But when you've got something that you love doing, you learn really quick. And I learnt quick to do live shots. Then I started working for the music press, the 70s and 80s, by taking in my pictures when I printed them in my parents' house at night time in my bedroom. By the time I left college, I was quite proficient. And then I started to get work for the music press, going on the road a little bit with taking a few portraits in hotel rooms. And then Hypnosis, who designed all the Pink Floyd covers, I went to see them, Storm Thorgerson, and he sent me on the road with Pink Floyd on the Dark Side of the Moon tour when I was about 21. And that was a baptism by fire as well, because I had to shoot, everything that was going on and do experimental shots to show what the music was like. And that was incredible to be with them as well, being a big fan of theirs as well.
So you always saw it as a career? It wasn't sort of like a hobby that you see with it was always, your goal was photographer in general?
Yes, I never thought I'd be a rock photographer because there's no such job really, even then. But the way the forces were, I ended up working in music. So my enthusiasm for photography began with my father, who was a good amateur and had a darkroom at home. But even on the 2-week course, it was the camera that was intriguing me. I felt I was a very shy person. The camera helped me to talk to people. I felt braver. And so, and then shooting live shots, you don't have to talk to anybody. You're in the pit, in the dark. That was bliss as well. I had more trouble when I had to go on the road and then shoot portraits where I had to actually communicate.
Have you still got your first camera?
I've got an S1A in my cupboard there. Yeah, it's not the exact one, but it's the first camera that I used. That was my dad's that he passed on to me, a Pentax.
Fantastic. And we've actually got a number of Storm Thorgerson prints in the auction, which we're super pleased to have in there.
We so miss him. He was a one-off, he was just an incredible man.
I have said to people that no matter how good our photography team are, and you've got to see them in the flesh because colours just pop and the compositions are so good. And was he an influence on the way you worked in terms of putting all of that together? Because I think you've got a very, I would say his is more of a stage style, but yours is more of almost like it's empathic in terms of the contact you've got with some of the subjects that you photograph. I think the Pink Floyd ones come across, they're just, if they were blown up, I think it's almost like you're in the room with them, and I think that's a real skill in itself. I think it does show in certainly nearly all of the photographs that are in Rockarchive. It's this almost like a love of photography, but you can see the contact with the subject matter. And I think that really, it does come across.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, so Storm, he was like not interested in pictures of bands, you see. So he was like, well, we've got to produce some pictures of the band because they've asked for it, but frankly, they're boring. I mean, them on the stage, them in the dressing room. He was a conceptual artist. So he was dreaming up ideas. He was more of a true artist. He was a surrealist. And in the time before Photoshop. So also he was a performance artist. Yeah. So, if you had, I'm trying to think of any of the covers that he did, whether it's the beds on the beach, for example. Yeah. There were beds on the beach, If there were
We've got the first time I saw it here, which is the the burning teddy bear.
Yeah.
And it's, you think, God, where's the idea for that come from? And it's just so...
Probably some nightmare that he had or something, you know. He was so much a rock and roll person, but he wasn't in the slightest bit interested in, you know, taking pictures of bands, and he didn't find those things interesting.
So even at that early stage, was there the nucleus there for putting a gallery together of artists and photographers to display all of this? So that did you ever see it as a business away from photography in the early days?
You're talking about Rockarchive?
Rockarchive.
Yes. Okay, so we moved forward through Oasis, really, to an exhibition I did of Oasis at the Roundhouse in 1997. And that was the cusp of the digital revolution, right on the edge of it. Okay, so we moved forward through Oasis, really, to an exhibition I did of Oasis at the Roundhouse in 1997. And that was the cusp of the digital revolution, right on the edge of it. There was now amateur digital cameras with very small file sizes. Olympus, for example, were launching the first consumer camera, digital camera. Epson were making machines for doing inkjet printing, but the inks weren't archival yet. It was a revolution, and that exhibition included all this stuff. And at the end of it, there was all this kit left, scanners, printers, papers and all that sort of thing, all in the, you know, a mishmash of the digital stuff. And I thought it would be great to, you know, maybe have not just one band, but a collective of rock and roll photography, because at the end of the 90s, you could already see that the rock and roll era was kind of aging. And I was thinking it would be great to sort of, you know, all the music press photographers, you know, we'd been known as snappers, and I thought, wow, we're a bit more than snappers now, you know, all that kind of thing. And so I thought, well, I'll start this website, and I thought Rockarchive that sums it up, so I started this website.
Where did you get the name from? Or was it just one of those light bulb moments?
I think it was just, you know, it is what it says on the package, really. It's an archive of rock pictures, a portal for rock photography. And I then contacted my friends like Storm Thorgerson, because I thought, well, it could also include the graphic designers.
Yeah.
So I contacted Storm, Barry Wenzel, Ray Stevenson, photographers who I was friendly with, and gradually they came in a few at a time, just giving us 4 or 5 prints of theirs to make into limited edition prints. And it was right at that moment that the inks became archival. So then that meant that you could say these inks will not fade, which you couldn't do before. And then we had a tiny gallery in Islington. It was smaller than this part of the room. And we had that for about 10 years. And then we realised when we put the pictures up there and people were coming at night and putting their fingers on the glass and putting their noses to it, that we had to clean the glass every night because people were fascinated.
Yeah.
And that's when we knew we were onto something.
Oh, it's brilliant. I mean, it's a fantastic story, and it's, you know, it's brought you to where you are today.
Yeah.
And which is, you know, where we are. And on the table here, all of these prints are going to be coming into the auction in November. You mentioned Ray Stevenson, and I think, you know, fantastic shot of the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Your own there of Noel. Again, they're just incredible pieces, and a particular favourite is I know it's a favourite of yours, it's also a favourite with the prop store team, is Fernando Aceves.
Yeah, Fernando Aceves is the maestro music photographer of Mexico.
Right.
I think this is a mask by Frida Kahlo.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because I think Casa Azul is the house that Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivero shared at one point.
Oh, right.
And Fernando did these extraordinary pictures of Bowie. He obviously hit it off brilliantly with Bowie for a magazine that Bowie was doing an article for, an art magazine. So Bowie was going around Mexico looking at art, and Fernando went with him.
And that's where these photographs have come
Yes,
from.
there's a series of them. I mean, this one is absolutely exquisite. And there's others from that collection. They're all amazing. And Fernando is also one of the best live and jazz photographers that I have ever seen anywhere. He really is a maestro.